Hey everyone, welcome to episode 236, Active Love. Welcome to the Harmony in the Home podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Hutchison. I'm a counselor, a life coach, and most importantly, an imperfect mom doing this work right along with you. And my goal on our podcast is to go from chaos to calm, feel less frazzled, and have more fun within your four walls to have more harmony in your home. Hey everyone, so I love this topic. This is probably one of my favorite topics, and this is like a secret to success in all of your relationships. It's really talking about unconditional love, assuming, now there's lots of disclaimers I have to put on this, you're with someone with a good heart, a good brain, you're not with a criminal, you're not with an abuser, you're not with someone who's having prolific affairs, you're not with someone who's strung up on coke, you're not gaslighting yourself to see the good in someone who's abusing you. So these are all very big disclaimers when I'm talking about two people in a relationship where there's not a lot of toxicity or unhealthy or illegal behavior going on. Because a lot of times I'll teach this stuff and they'll say, so this is how I should be if my husband's beating me. And I'm like, no, that's a disclaimer. But before we start, I want to talk about our sponsor, Herbal Face Food. You hear me talk about it all the time, and I will continue to talk about it all the time because it has made my skin so soft, so smooth, and I was born in 1974, and my skin is literally showing the effects of it with the sunspots, with the rosacea, with the eczema, with the melasma, with the psoriasis. I don't even know how to spell psoriasis. It's spelled with a P. What in the world? Nothing has helped me as much as Herbal Face Food has. And so I have a coupon code for you. Go to herbalfacefood.com, use the coupon code Harmony20, which I think is so cute that we have a coupon code. I highly recommend the soap and the serum one. The cream, if you can get it, is so amazing and it lasts for months upon months. So go to herbalfacefood.com, use the coupon code Harmony20 to get 20% off your first order, and then send me an email and tell me what you got. And then we can share skin selfies before and after, and I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I'm so afraid to post my before and afters on social media, so if you do want to see it, I will send it to you on private message. But I don't know why, I just get nervous sharing it on, because people are like, oh my gosh, that ratty old lady. So if you want to see my before and afters and why I'm so passionate about it, because I would never, ever, 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 ever share something on our podcast that I don't use every single stinking honking day. Even when I travel, I pack it. So I will show you my before and afters if you promise not to put it on the, send it to all the people. Okay, so today we're talking about active love. And I love this topic because we've talked a lot about unconditional love. We talked a lot about loving without boundaries, loving without conditions. And that's what unconditional love really is loving without conditions, which means there's no payment for entry. There's no walls. There's no bricks put up. There's no mountain to climb. You allow the other person to be exactly who they want to be. And in that freedom of allowing them to be who they want to be, which sounds so crazy to even say out loud, like somehow I'm giving other people the freedom to be who they want to be. I just mean without so much criticalness, so much criticism. Because it's very easy to blame our 50-50 on other people. Because we know that life is 50-50, so we think that it should be 100% happy. And so when we feel the negative emotions, we all of a sudden want to blame other people. Well, if he would just do this, or she would just do this, I wouldn't have these negative emotions. Instead of learning how to feel the negative emotions, and then all of a sudden your brain's like, oh, I get to feel negative emotions? Then all of a sudden you start to see the good in the people in your life. And then you become loving actively. And I talk a lot about relationships as being like a bank account, and we have to make deposits day in and day out with intentions. It's very easy to do with kids because they're so lovable and they're so cute and they're so adorable. So I think it's very intentional and it's very easy to do, especially when they're younger. When they're older, it gets a little bit harder because they start to put up walls or they start to push back or they start to sense an overbearing mom or an overbearing dad, meaning overbearing in their, like, I just love you so much. And you hung the moon in my world. They feel a little cramped sometimes. So that pushing away is sometimes very triggering because we might have been pushed away by our parents or by an ex or by a friend. And so it's very triggering when we're pushed away. So sometimes the intentional love becomes a little bit trickier when they're older. And I always come back and say, the act of loving someone else is how we feel love. Because we always think that we're feeling love from other people, and that's what makes us feel loved. But the only reason why we're feeling love from that other person is because our thoughts about that other person are ones of positivity and love and abundance. So when someone expresses that to us, it doesn't go from their heart to our heart, because the relationship you have with other people is always based on the thoughts that you have about those other people. Because if someone that you don't like showers you with love, it's going to feel icky and gross. So how come when someone you don't like gives you love, you don't feel it? But then someone that you do love gives you that same love, that same compliment, you do feel it. What's the difference? The difference is the way that you're thinking about the other person. So when I was teaching first grade and I was always passing out the love cup, I would go around the room and I'd say, okay, boys and girls, you have to open up your heart and you have to let the love in, because if you don't open your heart, then the love can't go in. So it's like pouring water into a jar and the top is on the jar. So the act of loving other people is how we feel love. Now, what happens over time in relationships are things are said, disappointments happen, miscommunications. You were supposed to pick that thing up at the store and you didn't. That means you don't love me. And this happens on both ends. That's just an extreme example. So what happens is when that happens, then the brain and the heart say, this person is not safe anymore. So I'm going to now put up a brick and I'm now going to put a governor over my love to hurt the other person because they have hurt me. So I'm going to hurt them back. And sometimes people hurt other people with their words, or sometimes people hurt other people with their silence, with their removal, with the seething energy, with the almost like an adult version of pouting. And we all do it. I know I do it. I'm definitely more of a seether. I'm not a yeller and a screamer. I'm more of a go inward. Some people go inward and they kind of like lick their wounds. And then some people go outward and they're just super rah, 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 rah. And sometimes they take it out on the wrong person. Now, when you know this about your heart, and when you know this about your head, when you know that you're doing it just to protect yourself, and that's what the bricks are for, then you realize like, oh, all that I have to do is feel a human emotion. That's the worst thing that can happen if I just love abundantly and with no vulnerability, with all vulnerability, with no walls. When I was talking about my dad as celebration of life, I said, my dad was like a golden retriever. If I told him, Dad, we got $1,000 stolen from us, he'd be like, oh, well, at least it wasn't 1,001, Kelly. You should be thankful for that. He always looked on the bright side. His whole heart was all bright side. And so when you think about your puppies and you think about your animals and you think about your kitties and the way that they love you and the way that you love them, it's literally without condition. Like Tucker has literally eaten 2 of my AirPods, 2 separate pairs of my AirPods, not the both sets. But I had I like my Raycons better than AirPods. Anyway, he ate one of my Raycons, and then I was like, oh my goodness, I got to get another set of Raycons. So I only had one Raycon. I get another pair. So they were on my nightstand. Somehow he got the case open and pulled one out and went to town on it. And do you think I was like happy about that? No, but my love for him did not waver. I'm not going to like start pouting around Tucker, and I'm not going to be like, well, you don't get any of my love now because you did that. Because it's not like a poker game where I'm going to play tit for tat and I'm going to match your hand. It's like, no, I'm going to love abundantly and I'm going to love you in the way that you like to feel love. That's why I love languages. Not so you can tell everybody else your love language, but so you know everybody else's love language so you can love with intention, with consciousness. And your brain will go to stop you and will say, well, he did this and she did that and he ate my AirPod and here. I hope nobody in your life is eating your AirPods. But you just tell your brain, no, the worst thing that can happen is human emotion. And there's not one human emotion I haven't felt in this world, so I'm going to be okay. So you love abundantly. And what happens is when you drop your walls, then the other people in your life know that it feels safe because the energy is very safe, and then they drop their walls. And then you're loving with this abundance, this wall, this like low wall love that we talked about. And it's so free, and it's making deposits after deposits after deposits after deposits with intention, with intention, with intention. And then when things do come up, when the air pot is eaten, you have something to pull from your savings. It doesn't deplete you, and you're not living paycheck to paycheck. So during calm waters, you're making deposits, you're getting creative. How can I love this person? And it's actually very selfish, because the act of loving other people is how we feel love. It doesn't come from other people to us. It comes from us to other people. Even if the people are not in your life, it's still a good thing and a good practice to think loving thoughts and focus on the good parts of that human, because then you feel the goodness of that. A lot of times when someone has hurt us, we want to be angry, we want to be resentful, we want to be seething. Let's say you've had a falling out with someone. So if you could just hate them from afar strong enough, then they will somehow feel that, even though you're not in communication, you don't see each other. And what does that do? That hurts the person that is feeling and thinking all the thoughts. It's like holding a fire stick and expecting the other person to get burnt. So that example, when someone's not in your life and you're hating them from afar, or you're just seething at them from afar, it only hurts the person that's doing the seething, because the other person is not in your life anymore, and they're off living their life, and they're not affected by any of that. This doesn't mean you're toxic positivity. It means you are allowing the positive to flow through. You're allowing the loving thoughts to flow through. And also understanding where that other person is coming from. Like, they did this awful thing. They must be really hurting, and it has nothing to do with you. Hurting people hurt other people. I like thinking that way, but I also don't want to go in it like I have no responsibility. I take no accountability. It's all their fault. It's like, how did I show up in that relationship? What did I do? So that doesn't have such a hold over you. It's not this seething, searing pain of holding this fire stick, expecting the other person to get hurt. Because when we put a governor on our heart, when we withhold love, thinking that we're actually hurting the other person, it hurts us way more than it hurts the other person. The other person doesn't even realize it. And they probably don't even care, because they've moved on. And in your four walls, a lot of times, you might be thinking, well, if I just pout enough, or if I just yell and scream enough, then they will realize that that's how they need to change. And the opposite is true. The more you drop your walls, the more they'll drop their walls. And you'll have so much built up of savings in your emotional bank account that you'll feel like you're on the energy cycle and you're not on the draining cycle. Because the act of loving other people is how we feel love. It does not come from other people and hop out of their hearts into ours. The relationship we have with other people is based on the thoughts we have about other people, not based on the other people. And that is where you get your power back, and you control your side of the street, and you know that you're showing up with abundance and that golden retriever, low wall, no fee for entry love. It feels so good. And then you'll see it's reciprocated back to you, and they mirror that back to you. So find out their love language, and then love them with intention, and love them bigly. I know that's not a word, but it is now. And when you do that, you will realize it hurts us when we hide behind walls. It doesn't hurt the other person. All it does is make them go behind their walls. And then they're hurting, and sometimes they don't even know why they're hiding behind the walls. They're like, I don't know, it's not safe to go out there. I'm not going out there. It's too vulnerable. The worst thing that can happen is a human emotion, and guess what? We've all felt them, and it's a vibration going through our body. We're going to feel it one way or the other, so you might as well love abundantly in that golden retriever energy, focusing on the good, and you'll see more good. Focus on the bad, you'll find more bad. This works in all relationships. And when you get this, life becomes so much lighter and fluffier, and it's lighter and fluffier for everybody in your four walls. And then guess what? You have more harmony in the home. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Hey mamas, thanks for listening. If you had any ahas, clicks, or those lightning bolt moments while listening, you have to check out my free parenting bootcamp, where we take all of this to the next level, and we try to create even more awakenings for ourselves so that we can connect more with our kids and never yell at them again. You can sign up at www.coachingkelly.com And if you really want to fill up my love cup, send me an email of what your aha was, what your click was, what was that lightning bolt moment while you were listening. I want nothing more in life than for you to have harmony in your home and to learn how to be an imperfect mom like me, which allows your kids to be imperfect too, each and every day. Thanks for listening.